In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do to lose fat, tone up, and stay that way forever. And yes, this video is going to be comprehensive because here is the thing. I used to really struggle with my weight too. And it wasn't until I finally became a dietitian that I learned what actually works. And I've now reached a point where I can stay lean despite having a worrying appetite and love for food. And if we haven't met before, I'm Maria and I'm a registered dietitian. And I have helped hundreds of people successfully lose weight using both psychology and science. Because let's be real, life is way too short to spend it constantly on a diet. I want to help you reach your goals fast so you can get on with living your best life. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you hit subscribe because I'm here to help you too. Now, what do each of these diets have in common? Well, they are all effective for weight loss. Keto limits carbs, low fat limits fat, and the carnivore diet limits the amount of friends that you have. But if they ever lead to weight loss, it's because they all enlist a calorie deficit. And this is why intermittent fasting can help for some people. It simply makes it easier for some to eat less calories. So if all of these diets work, why do I have a full waiting list of people needing help? Well, it's because it's not that diets fail to work. It's that we fail to stick to them. So you need to find the intersection between effectiveness and enjoyability. Now, strict diet plans do not work for most people because they are simply just not sustainable long term. However, if you do want to lose weight, you do need to change what you're eating. As Einstein famously said, only a fool does the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And changing your eating habits is one of the most crucial steps in your weight loss journey. What we eat, along with how much we eat, is what will make the biggest difference. Eating is about so much more than just survival. Our emotions are deeply tied to the food that we eat. We find comfort in it, we build memories around it, and we turn to it in times of celebration, stress, and even when we're mourning. Food is woven into almost every aspect of our lives. It often reflects our culture, our traditions, and even our religious beliefs. And that's exactly why changing our eating habits is difficult. But while it's hard, it is not impossible. So first, we need to have an energy or a calorie deficit. Because ultimately, your body will not slim down if we consistently eat more than we burn. Now, there are two main ways to approach this. The first, most well-known popular method tends to be tracking your food intake or tracking your calories. You look at how much you're consuming and you try to reduce it slightly. Now, if you want to go down the tracking route, I highly advise working with a dietitian for this. I'll leave links to my services and weight loss guide below. Because unfortunately, it's not as black and white as the internet makes it seem. You still need to focus on food quality and be strategic. 500 calories of chocolates is not the same as 500 calories of vegetables. Focusing on the quality of calories and learning where extra calories start to slip in. This can make all the difference for weight control. Now, you don't have to follow this approach though. You don't have to track your calories to lose weight. It's time consuming, not practical, and triggering for some. And that brings me to the other option that we have. And that is focusing on eating regular meals that are structured and set up for weight loss. Because in my experience, working with hundreds of people, weight struggles often come from three main issues. One is skipping proper meals. Two is excessive snacking or just grazing all day. And three is poorly planned meals that don't keep you satisfied. I see it time and time again, people who tell me that I don't understand, how am I not losing weight? I didn't even have lunch today, and they're snacking and they're grazing on different things. And they don't realize how all of these little bits here and there actually end up meaning that you're over consuming in comparison to if you were just going to have your balanced, structured meals. And often what happens with chronic dieters is straight away their focus goes on looking at their calorie intake and their energy expenditure. But this is a very simplistic approach. And that is why the next step, looking at where your calories are coming from, is so important. So the first thing after looking at your energy intake is protein. I like to set a range so you're not aiming for just one number. You want to aim for at least 1.2 grams of protein per kg of body weight per day, all the way up to 2 grams. The higher your energy deficit, the higher your protein intake should be. And this is because protein is quite filling. And you also want to minimize the chances of you losing muscle tissue. Now, I regularly consume these high protein foods, and I recommend them to my clients too. But I have a free protein guide with protein cheat sheets, which you can download, and I will leave the link for this in the description box below. And I will also say that if you are looking for healthy high protein recipe ideas, I would recommend following me over on Instagram. In fact, I recently did a high protein, low calorie snack series, which so many people really found useful. So I'd recommend checking that out. Next, you want to make sure that you're getting in enough healthy fats. And this is really important for vitamin absorption, but also for hormonal health, particularly for us ladies. And most people will need around 40 to 80 grams per day. This is also really important for your skin health. I always say healthy fats are like moisturizing your skin from within. Then you also want to make sure that you're getting in enough fiber. This will help with your gut health, avoid constipation, and help also with keeping you feeling full and satisfied. And particularly for us women, we struggle way more with things like constipation and IBS than men do. And while protein is always being shouted about from the rooftops, fiber fails to get the spotlight that it deserves. And more research is showing that a healthy gut can impact things like your weight, things like your appetite. And beyond this, there's even links between your fiber intake, your gut health, but also mood, cognition, sleep, and mental health too. And ideally, if you're looking for a target, you want to be getting in at least 25 grams of fiber. Ideally more, 30 grams or more is even better. Now, I know this might seem like a lot of numbers, and it's almost like now healthy eating appears more like a math equation. And although you can take a calculated approach and you can work out all of these things and you can track these things, if that's not practical for you, you don't have to worry. You can still hit these targets by following a structured eating plan and learning how to build a balanced meal. And you can learn about portion sizes. You can make this as complicated or as simple as you like. But what I will say is that if you are trying to lose weight and you are finding it very difficult, or maybe you have lost weight, but now you are really struggling with losing those last 5 or 10 pounds that always tend to be the hardest to shift. Closely tracking your food intake at this point and really planning out and sticking to your meals can be really helpful at this stage. Now, for some people, especially if their baseline diet wasn't very healthy, they never really ate vegetables, they never really exercised, and if you're just starting out now on your healthy lifestyle journey, weight loss can happen for you by just making some simple changes. But if you already eat pretty well, if you already exercise regularly, this is where you might need to take a deeper dive and pay more attention. Because eating healthy and eating for fat loss can be, but are not always the same thing. And what I find with clients who are really trying to lose those last few pounds that are difficult to shift, some structure or targets are helpful. Because if they're not there, they end up eating too little some days, too much on other days. And this is why accountability and support is so important. Also, many of us are so surprised by the calorie content of some foods. I'll leave a friendly reminder here of what 600 calories of peanut butter looks like and what 300 calories of mayonnaise looks like. And I will say that many fitness influencers that you see online that claim that they eat intuitively, I am pretty confident that they have all tracked at some point before. And me as a dietitian, if I say that I'm just looking at my food and knowing, well, that's because I'm a dietitian and it is my job to know what a portion is and how many calories are in everything. So I guarantee I can probably eyeball food better than most people. And you're not going to have to closely track or closely monitor your food intake forever, but it can be useful practice to go back to every now and again to just keep yourself in check. It's like looking at your bank balance every now and again. It helps to know what is or what isn't in there. Now, when it comes to weight loss supplements, there is one that helped me lose 50 pounds. But unfortunately, all of that came from my wallet. So in terms of losing weight, there is no magic pill or fat burner that is going to make you lose weight any faster or more efficiently. Now, protein powders, they can be handy if you struggle to get in enough protein. And creatine supplements can be good to help you get more out of your workouts. But neither will help you burn fat or make your weight loss efforts significantly easier or faster. Now, the next thing you want to do if you're trying to lose weight is to check your weight regularly. Again, it's like checking your bank balance. You want to keep an eye on those numbers. And when you do this, it's important to zoom out. Don't be getting focused on weight checks too frequently. You want to look at it from a monthly and even fortnightly, weekly basis. If you don't like to check your weight, that is okay. Instead, you can look at things like your measurements. You can take before and after photos, or you can even just consider your jeans size, or if there's a particular item of clothing that you can just tell when it's getting a little bit looser. But people who weigh themselves regularly do seem to have more success when it comes to managing their weight. Now, you can lose weight by eating only M&Ms as long as you're staying in that calorie deficit. But this is dieting on hard mode. And this doesn't mean that you need to cut out your favorite foods. It's usually best to make gradual substitutions, like switching sugary drinks for sugar-free drinks, high-calorie condiments for low-calorie condiments, and fatty foods for less fatty foods. And if you have a ferocious appetite like I do, you need to increase the volume of food that you eat. This means bulking out your meals with salads, with fruits, and with vegetables. And you want to make your food taste nice with things like using an air fryer. You can make chips or fries without all of the fat. Use a Ninja Creamy. This can make high protein, low calorie ice creams that taste like Ben & Jerry's. Switch your full sugar Coke to your Diet Coke. If you regularly use lots of sugar in your tea, use a low calorie sugar alternative. And if you're concerned about these, but you have a lot of weight to lose, you've probably got your priorities in the wrong order. It's best to lose the weight first and then worry about these nutritional intricacies. But generally it comes down from switching from ultra processed food to more whole filling foods that you actually start to enjoy. Or adding something like chia seeds to your oats in the morning. This can help fill you up because they expand in your stomach. They're very filling per calorie. I always keep things like frozen berries in my freezer, and I'll have them with some Greek yogurt if I'm craving something sweet. Or I'll have a protein bar when I'm craving chocolate. This satisfies my cravings for chocolate, but I'm way less likely to overeat on it because it's also very filling, and it's helping me get in my protein needs for the day too. Whatever it is, it has to be enjoyable to you. Instead of having something like a Big Mac, have something like a homemade version with a lean turkey burger. Or go from the Big Mac and fries to the Big Mac with a side salad. If you really crave a Domino's pizza, try something like a flatbread pizza instead. It helps to try and trick your brain so it doesn't feel like you're on a diet. And over time, your taste buds will adjust. And I strongly stand behind saying that healthy food can taste amazing when it's done right. It's just about learning how to make it work for you. I always advise my clients to learn and master a few basic recipes that they enjoy. Make these on repeat and over time start to add in more. You want to keep it easy and keep it simple. And if you do all of these things 80% of the time, you can make excellent progress. And the other 20% of the time, you can do what you want. Now, gaining muscle will help you look more lean and support your metabolism. So I always recommend some form of an evidence-based resistance training plan. 3 times a week is enough to make great progress. And how you train will largely depend on your goals. But you need to try your best to achieve progressive overload over time, or to at least maintain your strength. And what progressive overload means is that, well, if you spent the last 2 weeks in the gym lifting 10-pound dumbbells, you want to spend the next 2 weeks either doing more reps with those same 10-pound dumbbells or moving up to 12-pound dumbbells. My training style is a mix between running and weights, simply because I like to run, it clears my head. And well, the weights mean that I can eat more over time without gaining weight. But I really recommend finding something that you enjoy. And if you can, try and set yourself a performance goal, like mastering a pull-up or a push-up, getting faster at a 5K run, or getting better at jiving on a Saturday night, which I hear is a competitive sport on the dance floors of Ireland these days. But this will make it easier to be able to stick to your diet with more ease. Because now going off track isn't about the amount of calories that you burn, but it's because your performance will suffer. You won't be able to run as fast or dance as well at the weekend. But when you find some sort of a sport or form of movement that gives you a reason to be in shape, whether that is football or pole dancing, it really doesn't matter as long as it's something that you want to get good at and something that you personally enjoy. Now, if you are like me and you have a full-time job, or if you just in general have a life with friends and family and other commitments, the chances are that the actual amount of time that you get to exercise is still probably just a few times a week. The majority of your daily energy burn is going to come down to your daily activity. In fact, changes to one's daily activity is one of the biggest factors that leads to weight gain in today's world. I'll insert a graph here that shows the amount of calories that you burn in different occupations. And the less active you are, the more important that it becomes to increase your non-exercise activity, which is basically your daily steps. It's one of the easiest ways to look at it. Now, 10,000 steps is a really good goal for most people. But if you're nowhere near that, even just increasing your daily steps by 1 to 2,000 at the start is a really good progress to be making. And if you can't walk, well, it's going to be tougher, but there are other ways that you can be more active. Now, sleep deprivation can negatively impact your willpower. It increases your hunger and can hinder the amount of fat that you will lose. I'm not going to go into all of the science behind this in today's video. You can watch this one here. But you want to try and get at least 7 hours of sleep per night. And do what you can to improve your sleep environment. No matter how busy you are, you should have a pre-sleep routine. And ideally, this is 60 minutes before you go to bed, where you switch off from all devices, you mute your work emails, and you ensure your sleep quality is good. Some people like to track their sleep, but there is a growing trend of orthosomnia, which is the obsession with tracking your sleep. You don't need to go to that extreme or be that person. Generally, what I like to follow is the 3-2-1 method. 3 hours before bed, I try to stop drinking. 2 hours before bed, I try to stop eating. And 1 hour before bed, I limit all screens. Do what works for you, but I don't advise going to bed hungry because you're just going to wake up. And if you have a bladder of steel, you probably don't need to cut out fluids as early as I do. Now, the biggest thing that keeps people stuck in this endless cycle of gaining and losing weight is the all or nothing mindset. We're either 100% on or we're 100% off. And I get it, sometimes it's actually so much harder to try to aim for moderation and to be somewhere in the middle. But we often end up feeling like complete failures if we mess up with just any little thing at all. If we eat any small thing off plan, and then we give up and we wait until the next day, or we wait until the next week even. We wait until Monday. But what's so important, and what I tell all of my clients to do, is that if you do mess up, that is okay, but try to get straight back on track at your next meal. Don't wait until Monday. Don't write off the whole day or the whole week or whatever it is that you're doing on your plan. And don't try to punish yourself either if you do mess up. So many people will say they have an ice cream after their lunch. Then they think, okay, well, I'm just not going to eat dinner. That's not a good idea. You're actually better off just forgetting about the ice cream, continuing to have your proper balanced dinner and just moving on with it, because hunger does catch up with you, and trying to skip meals then as a way of trying to balance it out, it does not work. Something that I like to use a lot is the never miss twice rule. Basically, if you have to skip the gym on Tuesday, that's fine, but try not to skip it again on Wednesday. And a flexible approach, it might sound like it leads to mediocre results, but that is not the case. In fact, it's the complete opposite. If you improve by just 1% every single day, you will be 37 times better by the end of the year. And this is called the aggregation of marginal gains, because tiny improvements add up. It could be as simple as swapping one snack for a healthier alternative, having 2 scoops of ice cream instead of 4, or taking the stairs instead of the elevator. And the thing is that bad habits, they compound over time too. And a lot of our eating habits are deeply ingrained into who we are. For example, for me, growing up, as many Irish families will do, I was always told that I had to clear my plate because there were starving children around the world. But guess what? Nobody is going to suffer if you don't finish all of your potatoes or eat all of your lasagna. It's not going to make you a morally better human being by clearing your plate. In fact, doing this consistently when you don't need to is only going to make you overweight. Now, I absolutely hate food waste, so I am going to try and do a video about this in the future, but it could be things like just trying to serve yourself a more appropriate portion, or putting away those additional leftovers and having them for lunch the next day instead. But if you want to change your eating habits, it starts with recognizing these outdated behaviors and replacing them with new, healthier ones. Now, your environment is the invisible hand that shapes you. And this is known as nudge theory. I always say to my clients, if you keep healthy food in the fridge, you're more likely to eat healthy food. And this is the exact reason why 94% of Nauru's population became overweight. Nauru is a tiny island between Australia and Hawaii, just in case you're wondering. But if you think that you are immune to external influences, you are not. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And that is not a threat, that is a Mike Tyson quote. Because some days sticking to your plan feels easy, and other days you are just going headfirst into a tub of ice cream or a box of celebrations. But if your environment is set up in a way where you didn't have that tub of ice cream to go nose diving into, in the first place, it then becomes a lot easier to make healthier choices. And research even shows that who you surround yourself with matters. If your friends and family are overweight, you are also more likely to be overweight, because behaviours like eating habits and exercise, these spread through social circles. If you're surrounded by unhealthy habits and overweight people, you are more likely to adopt them and become overweight yourself. It's more acceptable to not go to the gym if nobody goes to the gym. And on the other hand, if your circle supports healthy habits, you are more likely to follow suit. Now, I'm not suggesting that you ditch all of your loved ones, but maybe at the end of this video, you also send it to them as a gentle nudge to help them get on board with new healthy eating habits too. Now, you need to have systems in place to make healthy eating options the obvious default option. If you really crave a takeaway, for example, having a lazy backup microwavable meal might be a good option for you. If you always struggle with eating a healthy breakfast, maybe you need to implement a system that on a Sunday night you meal prep 4 or 5 breakfasts for the week ahead. Something like overnight oats is a really easy grab and go option. But have a system in place so that you do have healthier and better tasting meals prepped for lunches during the week. This will also help a ton. Life is a lot better when you pull out something decent at lunch rather than a shriveled chicken breast with some broccoli. And it might mean setting aside that 1 to 2 hours at the weekend. But it's all about getting yourself organized and having the correct systems in place. Like for me, it always is making a grab and go breakfast on a Sunday and a grab and go snacks, and then just prepping a few proteins, a few starches, and having some salad already chopped to make it easier to go for these options during the week. It's a system that works for me, and you need to find a system that works for you too. And by far the biggest system that you need to consider is what you're going to be doing after the weight loss phase. Because there is a reason why most people on fat loss programs regain their weight back. And it's the same reason why the weight loss industry is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. As Ben Carpenter rightly puts it, diets don't work, habits do. And whenever you lose motivation, remember that motivation and action are a cycle. If you lack motivation, take action. And this will lead to greater motivation. When you're motivated, take even more action, and it will lead to even more motivation. But action is often what comes first. Now, I hope this video has been helpful to you. If you want an actionable plan to get started today, I have put together a weight loss ebook, which I will leave linked in the description box below. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I recommend watching my cravings video next. I'll leave it on the screen here for you. As always, thank you very much for watching. Stay happy and stay healthy, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching.